That's kind of the way we are though, isn't it? We're either ethnocentric or we're egocentric. Ethnocentric means what? Okay, my culture is the best. Egocentric means what? I'm the best. Egocentric means I'm the best. Eula, you got 5 notes?
Yeah.
Give us one.
In 1847, Single started making regular stops at the village of State Hall.
Regular stops where?
At the village of State Hall.
Which almost is going to be called what?
Oh!
Remember, we said it was almost going to be called what? St. Paul? Pig's Eye. How many would you rather have that as your state capital? You'd rather have Pig's Eye?
Yeah.
Would you?
That'd be a funny name.
Guys, let's go to Pig's Eye today.
So where do you live? I just live south of Pig's Eye. Addie?
Yes, I have recruited somebody who encourages others to join a group.
Good one. That one's going to be on the test. You guys get that one down?
What was it?
Recruiter. Ava is not here. James,
Somebody who
Yes.
people to join.
give us one. You got 5 notes?
No.
Kennedy,
Yeah.
give us one.
Secretary of Bishop is a manager of a business like intelligent, confident school teacher with community leader.
I don't have to 5 minutes.
Mia, Grady, Matt,
No.
Isaiah,
No.
Mary,
I have 3.
give us one.
Oh!
Oh.
Maria Bishop became a teacher.
We've heard her twice. You got anything we haven't heard yet? No?
Mr. Hill, I had 4 notes.
You had 4?
Yeah.
Brad,
I have 3.
give us one.
Okay. An immigrant is a person who comes to a country to live in.
How'd you spell that, with an I or an E?
Wait.
There's an immigrant spelled this way,
With an E? No, with an I.
and there's an immigrant spelled this way. And you need to know the difference. You guys know the difference?
No.
Immigrant is someone who comes out of the country. Immigrant is someone that goes from a different state.
So this one, you're coming from a country into a country. This one is you're already in the country and moving in the country.
Wait, was that right?
Or you're actually a person that left your country. So the people that left are this, and when they come in, they're this. Or like in our country, most of the people, or in our state, Minnesota, most of the people originally came from where? Not originally, but before they moved to Minnesota.
Germany. Or not Germany. Russia. Maine. Britain.
Okay, they came from the New England states. What are the New England states? They're part of the 13 colonies. What are the New England states? Let's see if I got a map of the U.S.
Michigan.
Get a map of the U.S. I need to get a map of the U.S.
No way.
We'll just pull down.
I only bought Texas.
It doesn't have it.
The oldest map we have. Ooh, the Vietnam.
Rhode Island.
We'll just pull the world. So New England's here, okay? Which is New York and Massachusetts and Vermont, okay? That's New England. Most of the people that came to Minnesota were in New England first. They didn't come directly from Europe to Minnesota. They had come to the US. They took a ship to New England and lived there, and then there were different ways they got the rest of the way, right? Laura.
By 1816, settlers were the majority in Minnesota.
Where?
The settlers were the majority of Minnesota.
Mr. Gale, I have 5 notes now.
You have 5 notes now, huh? Just copying other people's notes, okay?
No, I didn't copy anyone's notes.
You didn't? You got 5 different ones? Okay, give us one.
Okay. Harriet Bishop's book for home in 1857 was about St. Paul.
Yeah, somebody said that earlier.
Okay. In 1855, Minneapolis was established.
Okay. Lucas.
Yes, and Minnesota Constitution was written and still on in 1967. They're still waiting for this one.
Maddie.
I have them in the office.
Go get them.
Okay.
You wanna do it for check or service?
Check, please.
Who's after Maddie? In the alphabet.
Where? No. Mary?
I think I'm after Jax.
Cooper. Are you gonna do?
Aiden.
Yes, and I did mostly like the vocab words.
So what's one of the vocab words you did?
Reservation, which is land set aside for later use by government.
Set aside for who?
Indians or, no.
For Native Americans, right. Isaac.
Minnesota became a state in 1858.
Did you have all
Today.
5?
What?
You have all 5 notes?
Minnesota's
What day?
birthday.
Today's statehood day, right?
Yeah, and his birthday.
And Cooper's birthday's same day. He can remember the state then, won't he?
I have one with Minnesota.
It's tomorrow.
Emily.
Yes, one of mine was Hans, I don't know how to say it,
Hans Mattson.
Hans Mattson, was the guy who wrote many articles and letters and speeches to encourage settlers to come to Minnesota.
Where was he from?
I don't know.
One of the major places people came to Minnesota from.
Sweden?
Sweden. How many people here are Swedish?
I don't know.
Only 3 people are Swedish. Avery. How many you got? 5? You got one? We haven't said? Are those notes? Yes, no? No? Jax?
Yeah, the main mode of travel for the immigrants was steamboat.
Cooper?
Yes, and a lot of people moved to Minnesota because the soil was nice and they wanted money.
Natalie? How many you got?
I only have 2 right now, but I'm doing them right
You
now.
got one we haven't talked about yet?
No, I was gonna say the hands, maths, and but then Ellen said it.
Ellen,
Temperance, a reform movement whose followers work to make alcohol illegal. And then about 5.
who did that? Who started the temperance movement in Minnesota? Same as school teacher, right? What did you have? You got one we haven't done, Maddie?
No.
We did all the ones you have?
Yeah.
James, you want a 9 out of 10 in a service, or without a service, or a 10 out of 10 with a service?
I'll do a service.
Do you want a service, or you want a point off? Anybody else have all, you got all 5 now, Fred?
Yeah.
You want a service, you want a point off?
I'll do it, sir. Just right now, I have the service writer.
What am I guess? So who are the service people?
Me, I got all 5 now.
James.
Mary.
Fred, you're turning in another one?
No, because I turned in 2, so I had 3, and then I turned in 2
Right.
because they were both they were
Mr. Hill,
both 1 hour.
I got mine.
Oh.
I'll take a service for it.
So,
Okay. So today we want to talk about the push-pull of immigration. We want to talk a little bit about Rosemount, if we have time. You guys know the history of your town?
no.
How many
no,
people
our
live in
state's
Rosemount?
162 years today.
How many people live in Rosemount?
I kind of do.
Yeah, I live in
Oh, so the majority don't live in Rosemount.
I live in like 3 different cities.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you do.
I live in the Bermuda Triangle.
Farmington.
I live in Lakeville, Apple Valley, and Rosemount. And
Yeah,
it's-
same.
Hola, hola, hola. And then Farmington's like.
So the people that didn't do this, it'd have been easy for you to just do what?
Copy.
Listen and write them down, right?
Yeah.
Do I got this thing going? I do, okay. So,
Hi.
immigration, so we got these 2 definitions, right? Did you write those down? You'll see those on the test. And we had what other terms? We had recruiter. You see that on the test. What else do we have? Temperance. Reservation. What was yours, Emily?
Reservation.
Okay? So we'll see those on the test. But today we want to focus on push, pull. Immigration. The push, pull of immigration. What do you think that means?
That increase and decrease.
So we're going to look at the factors, okay, that cause immigration. And these factors are either push, that means they're getting what?
Higher.
Pushed out of their place, they're currently living, and they're being what?
Cold.
Pulled into the place that they wind up.
Don't they?
So what causes people, what are the factors that cause people to get pushed out? Like, let's just focus on Rosemount here. We know Rosemount, it has its history, was originally founded by who?
Irish.
Irish people. Now, what pushed the Irish people out of Ireland?
America.
That could be, but it wasn't the case. But that is a factor that could push. Okay, one of the factors that is war or violence. That can push people out of a place.
Religious beliefs?
Hey, religious beliefs can push people. How can religious beliefs push you out?
They don't like them.
So if you're being persecuted for what you believe, you wanna go somewhere where you're not being persecuted. Even though as Christians, it says we're supposed to what? We're supposed to expect to be persecuted, right? What else causes you to be pushed?
Produce.
Okay, you're hungry. That's why Rosemount was sold by the Irish. Why the Irish hungry?
They ran out of potatoes.
Their major crop failed. They had a big famine, a big disease swept over their potato crop. And it wiped out their potato crop. So not only food to eat, but they also sell potatoes for money. Okay? That drove many Irish to come to the New World. Mary, you got another one?
Like lights and
Like what? I didn't hear.
like your human rights.
So human rights, so like if you're being political, let's say there are political reasons. The government is making you do stuff that you don't agree with. Or you don't like the government that you're under. And you wanna go and move to a government. So we'll do this a little faster because we've got a lot of charts to show you.
Turn off the
And a
lights.
video to show you.
Hopefully it's like a 45-minute voice. That was nice.
So I'll show you the chart. So some of the push factors are economic. We said lack of jobs, lack of food, poor there. Social factors, political factors. So we got them all, and then we didn't cover this one. The environmental factors. Maybe your home got wiped out by a storm,
No, America.
okay? And you have nowhere to turn to. So let's go to this new place. Okay, then the pull factors are kind of the same. So you have economic factors. Minnesota offered what? What economic factors did Minnesota offer?
Fertile soil?
Fertile soil. What else? Food? Well, that's part of the fertile soil. What else does Minnesota offer? Matt?
Trees.
Trees, if you start the lumber industry. Okay? Those are jobs there, building things. And lots of water to move for transportation, for other things. Social factors are pulling because they already had some people that were already here and they did what? Like Hans Matson, you guys said, what do you do?
He wrote letters and articles.
Okay, he wrote letters back saying, hey, you need to come here. This is a great place. And then Minnesota actually hired people to do what?
Brag people to come in this.
To tell people this is a great place. They're called what?
Recruiters.
Okay, recruiters. Educational opportunities, okay? Freedom. So all these. Good climate. You notice a lot of these posters by these recruiters say Minnesota's got a great climate.
It does.
So the recruiters sometimes do this, right? Propaganda.
What time is it?
What's propaganda? So it's one-sided information. So when they recruit, they're only gonna tell you the things in Minnesota that they consider what? Great, okay? They're not gonna tell you any of the bad things. So even the climate, well, the climate's okay if you like what?
Winter.
If you like variety,
Right.
sometimes you get a variety of climate all on the same day. Okay?
Snow, sun, 90 degrees, rain, or sun.
Snow, hail.
So if you like variety, it's a good climate.
Hey, that rain's
But if you're
hail's
in the winter time, especially in the 1850s, okay, it's a much more difficult place to live, depending on where you came from, okay? Now, if you're coming from Ireland, how often does it freeze in Ireland?
Like never.
Almost never.
Third but day.
So you have these Irish people that came to Minnesota. That was a rude awakening the first winter that they would have to deal with, okay? Wouldn't that make a good essay question?
Kind of.
I mean, I don't really think no.
What caused people to? Let's see what we got here. So here's some of the. Here's some of the posters they would have put back east in New England. Okay? Who would be making these? The recruiters. They'd be passing these out. You have a picture of these in your book in the last section, saying why should you come out to Minnesota? Okay? Cure for the panic basically they had an economic panic, kind of an economic downturn back east. To say, well, if you come out to Minnesota, you can have whatever you want. Okay? The man of small means could become rich.
When all those people like came, like at the end, wasn't that like the Great Depression? Or was the Great Depression like?
They had a panic in 1893 in our country. Okay? The Great Depression happens not until the 1900s that you'll study next year.
The great.
Okay?
Depressing.
Didn't the Great Depression start in like 1939 or something?
I think it was 1940.
So these would show these people are actually arriving where?
Maine.
They're arriving in New England. Okay? Coming over. Okay? This again begins the breakup showing how our before Minnesota became a territory. You can see a big part of was once Iowa territory. Okay? And then Minnesota incorporated and they made this Minnesota territory. All of this was Minnesota, so a big portion of what two states used to be part of Minnesota territory? What are these two states right here?
South Dakota.
Okay, North and South Dakota were originally part of Minnesota territory. Here's another older map of Minnesota territory.
That's confusing. Yeah,
So it's a closer look at this one. It's a close up. So there you can see Lake Superior.
Oh,
Okay?
now I see it.
Okay? This shows you Wisconsin, Iowa, and Minnesota territories from 1832 to 1858. So we're starting to see the boundaries that we have today. Okay?
What?
This is a map more from Wisconsin, okay? But you can see the different people,
It's a rotten cheese
A
curd.
lot of French.
okay?
German.
So over here, What's this green area right here?
Swiss German.
Yeah, that's probably why I'm part German.
You guys know what this green area?
Irish.
Yeah, where is it?
Irish.
It's in Rosemount, right here,
Oh.
okay?
There's a mini.
Wait.
Which one has the left? East.
This showing you the percentage currently, or close to currently. These are the percentage of Irish people, or people of Irish descent. So Rosemount doesn't even make the top 10. Although you see Mendota here,
McDonald's.
She's like kind of.
okay?
How does Oak Island have 48%?
And this shows you, this one shows you the population of all the U.S. And this is in 2000 and then 2014.
Sure half.
You trying to find Shrek?
So you can see, we're going to see a difference. I'm going to show you a map that shows you, plots you the different immigration. Okay, this map shows you the percent of people that have Irish ancestry.
Lots of people in like
Feel like no one.
I'm Irish.
Yeah, I'm Irish.
So you can see this area right here in Minnesota, okay, that's us. But you can also see other counties in the northern part that also has.
The northern part of Minnesota.
Why
is
were
giant.
Irish going up there?
No idea. Canada. Or Canada.
Lucas?
Because they traveled across the like lakes and rivers to get up there. Because they thought it was
What are they doing up there?
Or hiking.
Making potatoes.
Remember, what are the three things Minnesota is known for that brought the newcomers in?
Snow.
Okay, soil, that's primarily down here in the southern part. This up here is primarily what?
Soil. Wood.
Wood.
Does Minnesota
Okay,
buy part
so
of
they're
it?
working for these lumber companies.
What if the USA buys another country?
Okay, this is kind of goes too fast and I don't know how to stop it, but you can
Sweden.
see what happens.
Sweden.
Canada.
Canada.
What the heck? What the heck? Mexico. Oh.
What?
Germany. They all disappeared. Germany.
Wait.
Sweden.
Germany.
Sweden. Canada. What the heck is that?
Yeah, no, dirt.
Again, this is looking at the Irish history. These are the sisters, first sisters that came to Minnesota.
Nice. I don't think I have any sisters.
And this is the bishop that started the first cathedral.
Good boy.
Thank you. Notre Dame.
There we go. So, this map is going to show you down here in the corner. So from I guess you can't see that down in the corner. I must have it pulled up.
Is this before America smelled oil? Oil.
Oil.
Did somebody say oil?
So,
Japan, you
this
have oil?
bottom corner shows you the top 3 countries where immigrants were coming to the U.S. So in 1820, the majority of immigrants were coming from Ireland, United Kingdom, and France. And watch, you're going to see dots coming over it that shows the immigrants. And watch how this changes. Now, 1820, Minnesota is still what? Primarily, what's happening in Minnesota in 1820?
Fur trade.
Fur trade's happening. Very few whites. Okay?
Hey, Minnesota.
And the whites there are primarily the French fur traders and then the British. And now 1820s, the Americans have taken over. Okay, but watch what happens as, so the years we're interested in is what?
1850s.
Around in the 1850s, right? 1849, we became a territory.
Oh, hey, Minnesota. Hi. Oil.
We're nuking us.
No.
They're playing dodgeball, and America's just catching them all.
Yeah.
Oh, we got three people out. We
United
got
States.
three people out.
Flag Inc. It's Flag Inc.
In 1851, then this is when we did what?
A war. We became a territory.
No, we became a territory when?
When?
What happened in 1851?
Absolutely nothing.
Aaron,
They bought like most of the land.
this is where we signed those treaties. The Treaty of Traverse des Sioux. So most of the land went in. So at that time, Ireland and Germany, primarily for Minnesota, not United Kingdom, Ireland and Germany. And then the third, as you saw in that other map, was who? Starts with an S.
Sweden.
Sweden.
Eden. Oh my gosh, they're shooting. Oh, we're team tag team. No.
What are you talking about? We're still catching them.
Countries.
There's no way we're catching all of those.
Yeah, we are.
We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people out.
Yeah, but
We're surrounded. Hey, why are they throwing the other way?
No, the seas haven't changed down
Russia.
here.
Germany.
No, it's changed.
No, we can't. Don't worry.
Those are all the
Get the oil!
They're coming from all directions.
Those are all the souls we take.
Don't worry, guys. We just drank the oil.
Those are the
We are coming from the side.
Uh-oh, guys.
Oh, we're winning.
World War
Okay,
II's
we got
approaching.
a comeback.
Japan, run!
So you notice how things change when you get to the 1900s.
It's all learning began.
No, just go forward 12 years, please. Go forward 12 years. Go forward 12 years.
Ready, set,
Okay. This is a video showing
World War II.
how the third major group in Minnesota, which is the Swedish.
Opportunity. America's promise. For over 2 centuries, immigrants have been coming to America to take advantage of a chance to improve their lives. Northern Europeans were especially drawn to the scenic beauty of the lakes, prairies, and woodlands of the Minnesota Territory, so reminiscent of their homeland. Through a strong work ethic and a culture of neighbor helping neighbor, the immigrants overcame major obstacles in building their homes, farms, businesses, and communities. Friends and relatives back in the old country pieced together what they learned through letters, newspaper reports, and advertisements, and the adventures and successes of their pioneers became legends. Inspired by these legends, Swedish novelist Wilhelm Moberg came to America in 1948 to seek out the stories of early Swedish pioneers in the New World. By the time Moberg arrived, Minnesota had been a popular destination for Swedes seeking a new life and new opportunities for nearly 100 years. The stories he heard here were the inspiration for his novels The Immigrant and The New Land, which later became feature films.
Don't do it.
Moberg
Don't do
didn't
it.
drive and must have been frustrated to find that rail service from the city of Wyoming to Taylor's Falls had shut down just weeks before his arrival. The rail line had served agriculture and the residents and businesses of Wyoming, Chisago City, Lindstrom, Center City, Schaefer, and Taylor's Falls since the 1880s. The line was built largely to bring tourists to this already popular resort area. The economic investment and the hard work of overcoming the engineering challenges and building the massive infrastructure paid off. The easy access helped existing businesses thrive and created opportunities for new ones. Business was booming. Communities flourished. Each stop along the rail line was a destination with something special of its own to offer travelers and attract visitors.
Uh-oh.
Economic economically weakened in the Great Depression, by the mid-40s, the rail line could no longer compete with the sharply rising popularity of the automobile. Reduced demand for rail service caused schedules to be trimmed. With fewer trains running, trains were less convenient, and more people made their trips by automobile. The downward spiral of fewer riders and less service continued until the last train ran on June 30th, 1948. Residents, proud of their American life and their Swedish heritage, were happy to take their Swedish visitor around by car. But Moberg needed to be independent and turned to a mode of transportation he was comfortable with in his homeland. He borrowed a bicycle from the druggist in Chisago City. That bicycle gave him the freedom to go anywhere he wanted to go on his own schedule and at a pace that allowed him to study the land and what his countrymen had made of it. The Taylor's Falls and Lake Superior Railroad and the St. Paul and Duluth Railroad can once again provide us with recreation, transportation, and economic opportunities as multi-use trails. In fact, the Sunrise Prairie Trail, built on a portion of the St. Paul to Duluth line, has already begun to do so.
Oh, I can't resist those penny farthings over there. Look at that. That was the bike of the turn of the century.
I have never seen a community get behind a project like this and embrace this project as something that they felt was critical for their area. I know that my granddaughter is going to enjoy.
So, all these railroad lines today are what? They're bike trails. You know, you can bike all the way to Duluth. In fact, I did it one summer and about died, but.
But she didn't.
Anyway,
Still here.
look at this one.
2 minutes and 19 seconds.
Bless you. Yes, you found some oil.
What would compel you to leave your home, your family, and all you know for a new life in a new land? For some it might be the promise of work. For others the hope of freedom from religious or political persecution. Those who chose to settle in Minnesota brought their hopes and dreams, as well as material goods. Looking at what people brought with them can help us to understand why they left home. For many coming to Minnesota in the 1800s, the promise was land to farm and to homestead. Failed crops and rising taxes forced hundreds and thousands of farmers off their lands throughout Europe in the mid-1800s. Minnesota became the destination for tens of thousands of farmers from Ireland, Germany, Norway, and Sweden. The plow was an essential tool for preparing land for farming, and many immigrants to Minnesota brought their plows with them. This plow was handmade in Sweden and brought to Minnesota by the Johnson family in 1890. As lands were cleared and homesteads established, immigrant families put to work items they had used in their home country for maintaining a household. This cutting tool was brought from Sweden to St. Paul to cut up blocks of sugar into cubes. This spinning wheel was brought to Minnesota from Norway to make clothes on a farm in Waseca County. Lars Anderson made this herb grinder in his native Sweden and brought it with him when he immigrated to Minnesota in 1905. In the mid-1800s, many Europeans who worked with their hands found themselves out of work due to the invention of labor-saving machines. Many of these artisans established successful businesses in Minnesota. Swedish immigrant Carl Johnson used these tools as a shoemaker in St. Paul. Mary Miller brought this pillow from Austria to practice her trade as a lace maker. In addition to the practical things needed to establish a new life, immigrants also brought personal items which served as reminders of family, friends, and cultural traditions. Photographs were the most typical way to remember loved ones. But in the 1800s, it was also common for people to braid a necklace, bracelet, or watch chain from their hair to give to family members as a keepsake. This story cloth, made at a Thailand refugee camp, depicts the Laotian Civil War, which forced many Hmong people to flee their homes after the Vietnam War. It is a bittersweet reminder of the difficult circumstances which sometimes brought immigrants to Minnesota. Other items reflect happier memories, like this Swedish decorative plate, or this grinder used to prepare kibbeh, a traditional Lebanese dish made from wheat and ground meat. Want to explore your family's journey to Minnesota? Go to www.
You're gonna become a helicopter. Hey Japan, I saw you.
So you can see Rosemount celebrated its 150th year in 2008.
Hey, that's enough.
Okay? So the first settlement was in 1853 here by William Strathern in Rich Valley area. Now there's a golf course over there. James Diffley. Some of these names will sound familiar. Why? They're named roads. Okay, a lot of the roads and streets are named after them.
What about Cedar?
Oh, there's a
Diffley Avenue.
And these are some the historic sites. I will post this on the Google page. On the Google page for you to see.
No. Close your eyes, everyone.
I say, when did World War II start?
I did not. 1914. World War II.
Now, how did they get here? Okay, there's 5 different travel routes to come to Minnesota. Somebody mentioned in their notes steamboat. Could you take the steamboat all the way to Minnesota? No, you couldn't. Okay?
Vietnam. When was the Vietnam War?
1960s.
Okay.
Whoa.
So how would they get here then?
Boat.
Where's the steamboat at?
The water.
Okay.
Atlantic Ocean.
The steamboat is right along the Mississippi River in Galena, Illinois, here. So the railroad would come all the way here. So if you were rich enough, the easiest way to go, if you were rich enough, okay, would be to travel by railroad over to the Mississippi River and then take the steamboat up. So again, that's for the wealthy because that ensures a cost. Okay? That's not what most of the people did because most of the people what? Weren't wealthy. Okay?
Texas the biggest state.
they had to use like stuff.
So some people came by wagon. Okay? Overland from Philadelphia over the Allegheny Mountains, along the Ohio River to the Mississippi, or along the National Road to Illinois. So you could go by wagon, you could go by horseback, or if you didn't really even have money for that, what you'd have to do? Walk. Okay? You'd have to walk to get there.
Texas must be some country.
Because most of them, they didn't do the Voyager route. Why?
They didn't have canoes
Okay, it was too difficult, the Voyager route, and trying to carry belongings. So again, you can imagine you wouldn't be able to carry many belongings along. The third, again, a wealthier route here is you could come to New Orleans and do what?
Actually, no.
Take the steamboat all the way up the Mississippi, okay? All the way up. A person you need to know that I don't know if it's in your book, so Eugene Burnand. Okay, write his name down. Eugene Burnand. He is the commissioner of immigration to Minnesota in 1855. So he lived in New York City. So basically, he's a what?
Recruiter?
He's a recruiter. So he's the officer of immigration with an E, because they're already where?
In the country.
Okay.
Fall asleep. Wake up.
And what were the four countries that the majority of people in Minnesota came from?
German. Me. Let's all do our best helicopter.
Ireland. Russia.
These are the top four. These are the top four in Minnesota when we were first becoming a nation. Okay? So in your planners, write down, review worksheet. Finish the 100 to 105 again is talking about some of the stories that they usually do. So you can finish the reading of chapter 7. You got 7 minutes to get some of this done. I'm giving you some of the answers right up here.
What year did World War II start? Wait, what are we doing? What?
1939.
You said not bad. What
You just said that. What question?
Oh, yeah.
6 months later.
Oh, you're the greatest person to start. No, you didn't. For the Great Depression, I did. Not for World War II. You said you said you're lying.
Yeah, I know.
You're lying. I said 29. Wait, what's for World War II?
Did you say that?
Finish reading all the way to the Civil War, and then
Does it matter who's right?
passing around.
You're so.
You read all the way to the
So, this is the assignment. Next time you're reviewing, the test is over both of these chapters.